the case for local government, and we listened. That's why we're rolling back the era of micromanagement too, with simpler funding and a rapid consolidation of your finance settlement. We are handing you the freedom and flex to meet local needs, without getting to sign off from central government for the most minor of change. And right now, the paperwork you're asked to fill out for micromanaged funds every year would stretch from here to the west side of Wirral. There's no justification for that, so we're cutting it down, meaning that you can focus on your priorities, not filling out forms. And with more flexible funding, we're giving you the opportunity to work more collaboratively, including through new pilots so councils and mayors can pool budgets and do joined-up services, learning the lessons of projects like Total Place, the last Labour government's pioneering reform programme, because we know that every ambition of this government requires an active, empowered and strong local government. And we were elected to bring change, and that change can only be achieved in partnership with you. Nowhere is that more obvious than housing. None of our ambitions are possible without the support and the expertise of people here today. And the extraordinary examples of so many leaders in this room have inspired us to go further and faster. Right here in Liverpool, under the leadership of Council Leader Liam Robinson and the Mayor Steve Rotherham, this great city is going from strength to strength. You only have to look at the incredible regeneration of the Liverpool Waters District, not too far from here, with new funding that's unlocking around 2,350 new homes. Now, Liam said the central docks could act as a beacon for what housing developments in the 21st century can be and should be. And it's hard to argue with that. But you know, and I know, you need a government that matches your ambition. And that's why I'm so proud to say that just last month, we announced the biggest increase in social and affordable homes budget for a generation. Our historic £39 billion of new social and affordable homes programme aims to deliver around 300,000 new homes, with at least 60% for social rent. This is a personal priority, not just for me, but for the whole of this government. And I say that in the context of 160,000 children that are growing up in temporary accommodation. When 1 million people are living their lives on social housing waiting lists. No government can sit back whilst people live their lives in limbo. So through investment and reform, this government is backing councils and the whole social housing sector to deliver council housing. That means a brighter future where families aren't trapped in temporary accommodation and young people are no longer locked out of a secure home. And we're giving the sector certainty in other areas too. A 10-year rent settlement, consulting on how to implement rent convergence, giving social landlords equal access to the building safety funds for the first time ever. And in the autumn, we'll confirm our approach to stop councils to help councils to borrow from the Public Works Loans Board. And on top of this, we're also committed to reforming the support given for skills capacity with a new council house building skills and capacity programme. And that'll be a partnership between the LGA and Homes England, backed by £12 million in funding. And it will also help you to get the skilled staff that you need to build. And the scale of this challenge means we all need to play our part. Local authorities, housing associations, investors, developers, house builders and regulators are all vital to help us reset the system. Now, taken together with our bold planning reforms, the new National Housing Bank and the billions we're putting into transport and infrastructure, there's a real opportunity here for councils. Opportunity not just to build the decent and secure homes that working people so desperately need, but to build stronger communities at a scale and at a pace. Our goal of delivering 1.5 million homes will only be met by building affordable homes with councils in the driving seat. We want our new programme to be a game changer. We're setting a target which is 6 times more than we built in the last decade. And the truth is, for too long, the potential of what local government can achieve has been underestimated by Whitehall. Our government was elected to deliver change, and I know how fundamental you all are to delivering that. But you're all having to work within a broken system. You've been left unequipped to deliver what is being expected of you. And despite the huge sums that you're spending on public services, on adult social care, children's social care, SEND and temporary accommodation, I'm hearing loud and clear from you all that these services are still not working for the people that need them. And the truth is that Westminster just hasn't kept its side of the bargain. Public services need reform, and the onus is on us to work with you to deliver it. And that is why I am here today to fire the starting gun on a new way of working with you, to deliver the reforms we know are needed. First, we are today announcing a fundamental shift to radically simplify the funding and reporting regime that underpins your work. Through a new local government outcomes framework, we will move together to a completely new way of measuring performance. And this will be focused on delivering what we know matters most. Outcomes like kids learning to read and write, people living healthier lives for longer, and communities feeling safe. It brings everything in line with the government's broader missions and our plan for change. And it means prioritising the long term instead of getting caught up in the nuts and bolts. And the aim is that if it frees you up to deliver meaningful outcomes and facilitates a shift towards prevention. But I know we don't have all the answers. So my promise to you is that if you come with a new way of delivering the service and it shows results, we will work with you to pursue it. The micromanagement of previous governments failed. It wasted taxpayers' money and got us into a mess that we're in now. And we can all recognise there are times when governments have to step in. And make no mistake that I'm still prepared to intervene where the failure is there to deliver. But it has to be by the book. And we can't have a Westminster knows best attitude. That is why we're putting together a clear menu of actions of how government will respond where services are failing. And I want everyone to know where they stand, so concerns and weaknesses can be picked up before they become a crisis. And I'm committed to writing this with the sector to get this right the first time. And there's a real urgency to this. So to the chief executives and the council leaders here today, keep your eye on your inbox, because straight after this speech today, you'll be receiving the details of how to get involved. Everyone in this room knows that ending Whitehall micromanagement also means sorting out the spaghetti soup of obligations facing local government. That's why, alongside our new outcomes framework, we'll be launching a comprehensive review to ensure unnecessary regulations and needless asks from government aren't getting in the way of you serving your communities. We will harness the government's AI team to unlock efficiencies and work lockstep with the LGA so we get it right. So that's two fundamental shifts in the way this Labour government is doing business with local leaders. And we won't stop there. Money is understandably at the forefront of everyone's mind in this room. You watched as your communities were unfairly shortchanged for too long. So that's why my third pledge is to make good on a promise I made countless times in opposition. A promise to fund councils on the basis of need. The last government promised a fair funding review back in 2016. They recognised how outdated and unfair the funding process was back then. But as with so many of these things, their promises came to nothing. They divvied, they delayed and abandoned the fair funding review. But not under my watch. Anyone who knows me knows that I don't make promises that I can't keep. I listen to the people in this room calling for government funding to recognise the unique challenges of their place, whether that be rising temporary accommodation or even the pressure caused by huge footfall in coastal communities on the weekends. Many of you, including our colleague, the Minister for Local Government, campaigned for this change for decades. And this Labour government will waste no time in delivering it. We will implement a fair funding review. And yes, that's a full fat version. Now, Jim and I will make no apology for this. For the first time, government grant will be allocated based on the drivers of need in your area in a fair and transparent way. We will replace the decade-old data and for the first time probably take into account factors such as deprivation and poverty. The cost of remoteness faced by rural communities, meaning bus drivers and refuse collectors have to travel miles to serve their communities. We will take into account the varying ability to raise tax locally with lower house prices impacting on councils' budgets, temporary accommodation, and the impact of daytime visitors on major cities and coastal towns alike. Taken together, this new approach supports every part of the country to manage their unique pressures, and I'm impatient, as I know you are, for this change. So alongside Minister McMahon, we will waste no time in putting things right, to support places that lost out, to rebuild those valued services and match money to need. Now, true reform of local government means taking a long and serious look at the plumbing, and we won't shy away from that. That's why my fourth on the list of local government is local government reorganisation. Now, I know that can feel anxiety levels in the room increasing at that phrase, but I think everyone in this room can agree that governments cannot keep passing the buck on this one. If we are serious about shifting local government into a stronger footing and fit for the future, delivering good services for residents, then we must cut out this needless duplication. We must take the brilliant leadership shown by district and county councillors and move it to a simpler structure with more resources for the front line and a clearer accountability for residents. So many of you in this room have entered this process with an open mind, and I want to thank you for your continued support as we navigate towards the end of a two-tier system in England. You have my word that Jim and I will work in partnership with you every step of the way. Reforming local government also means learning from our mistakes as well as our successes. And my fifth focus is on trusting local government to deliver services in-house. Local government has long been the champion of insourcing, and I know too well about your efforts to innovate and bring services in-house to lower cost and improve outcomes. We hear you and we're on your side. That's why we're also delivering new procurement flexibilities for councils, so you can confidently support your local businesses and ensure that the investment and jobs stay local too. We're working to undo the ideological presumption of outsourcing by default as part of our plan to make work pay. The truth is that we've become hooked on short-term solutions, creating a costly dependence on external providers which can fail to deliver, particularly for vulnerable people, young and old. You've been telling us about your efforts to innovate and bring services in-house to lower costs and improve outcomes. With colleagues across government, we'll introduce a quick and proportionate public interest test to decide whether work could be done more effectively in-house. Now, the consultation on insourcing launched last week, and I have no doubt we will get a lot of responses from people here today. I know what's possible when local leaders have the powers to really deliver, with local people seeing that change in their high streets, in the opportunities available to young people, and in the hopes for the future. That's why we're shifting power out of Whitehall to our regions and making devolution the default settings through our landmark English Devolution and Community Empowerment Bill. It's part of building a modern state, built on the foundations of a strong local government, so that all levels, in everything that we're doing, whether through devolution, fairer funding, trusting local government, in-house, or giving authorities the certainty and freedom to deliver on what really matters, we're handing power back to where it belongs, to the people with skin in the game. Resetting, rebuilding, and renewing local government through ambitious investment and reform, and with it our country after the hardest of years, so that it once again works for working people. That's the difference a Labour government makes. That's the difference that you make in your communities every single day. I've got your back. Let's work together. Thank you.
Well, what a fantastic start to the morning, and what an impressive speech. Lots of detail in there, and I'm sure lots of leaders will be checking their inbox after today's session. Well, no, yeah, but let's wait till later. It's also great to be joined on stage by Minister Jim McMahon, a no stranger in this space and a real champion for local government. So I was reflecting that, you know, thinking about the work we've done over previous years, actually we've probably never seen as much of a Minister or a Secretary of State as we have done over the last 12 months, and that's been fantastic. So look, in this session, I'm really keen that we do get some questions and some answers. I'm also conscious I've not quite cleaned my glasses, so I'm going to have to sit forward a little bit to see you. So I'm going to try my best to do them in rounds of 2 or 3. So if I can see you, just get your hands up for those, just give me a bit of a sense. I'm going to try and make it easy for the team to move around the room as much as possible. So I'm going to start here, the gentleman at the front, and then I'm going to go all the way over to the side with the woman in the mustard cardigan. So we'll take 2 for now.
Thank you very much. Good morning. I'm Daniel Allen. I'm the leader at North Hertfordshire District Council. Part of the challenge for rural areas like mine is the distance between residents, which makes it much harder to deliver services. May I ask how the government have taken remoteness into account with the new funding formula?
Thank you. And to the other side of the room?
Oh, hi. My name's Millie Patel. I'm Deputy Leader at Brent Council. I have a question about the introduction of AWAB's law last week, which is very welcome and a positive step in terms of dealing with damp and dangerous mould. And we have far too many families that we know and people that live in these conditions. Could you tell us whether the courts are prepared for this and also how will this change the landscape for social housing? Thank you.
Do you want to do the fair funding and I'll do the Arabs law?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we were very clear that on the fair funding review, it had to stand the test, whoever tested it. And so hopefully, wherever you are in the country, whatever type of council you have, when you look at the way we've approached it, you will see that we've approached it. So if you're at a rural area, you will see that we've taken into account remoteness, so that travel time, as the Deputy Prime Minister said, in terms of appointments, emptying bins, home care visits, and the like, and there is an extra cost as part of that. Also deprivation. So I think previously, when deprivation even was superficially considered, or it very rarely was, it was based on such a high level that for those areas in even in Westminster or some rural communities or coastal communities, the pockets of deprivation weren't being picked up by the system. Well, now there will be, because it's going to be based on clusters of households of 600 or more. So that really picks up those pockets in rural and coastal communities. We've also got the area cost and labour cost adjustment, which is very technical, but what it says is that we are actually taking into account how much it costs to operate a council in your area, the rent, the rates and the labour cost too. So with all those different component parts, we do believe that the funding formula does what it says on the tin, but this is a consultation. And between now and the provisional settlement, it's your opportunity to feed back what works, maybe where we could do a bit more, and really use that as a two-way process.
And thank you for the question regarding the relaying of the regulations for Arabs law, which we did last week. And this is really important. I mean, as a Greater Manchester MP, it was devastating to see what happened, where a young boy lost his life because of the conditions of damp and mould in his property. And even more heartbreaking is another young child since then. Another coroner's report has said the same. So it is incredibly important that those regulations come in October and that the system is set up for it. So me and Matthew Pennycook, the Housing Minister, has been working with the sector, working with our colleagues in the Ministry of Justice and making sure the guidance is there, the courts are set up, and that there is enough support for the sector to make sure they do it. Look, we've looked at the regulations and we're bringing them in two stages. The regulations that are coming in October is very clear that life-threatening things like mould and damp and life-threatening hazards have to be fixed and has to be fixed as a matter of urgency. I think that's the basics that we should be asking. I don't think that's unreasonable to ask that. But I did listen to the challenges on some of the other things we want to include, which is things like overcrowding, etc., which are also challenges, but they'll be brought in a longer time frame. But to fix this problem, so I don't have to look at another family who have lost a child because of their home and where they're living, we have made sure that we've pushed ahead. This first year, it was a key priority to get Arabs law into law and to do justice to Arabs family who have fought so hard, and to all those other people at the moment whose houses is not fit for purpose, and to say to those landlords, whoever they are, sort your house out, get your house in order, because nobody should die in a damp and mould home.
And I think the pace that you've moved at, really, to be able to do this has sent a really, really strong message to the sector as well. So I think definitely to be welcomed. And you've made housing such a big mission, both of this government and what you've been doing. So it's great to see some action. So, okay, we're going to try and keep moving. So I'm going to come to the gentleman in the grey jacket in the middle of the room, just in front of you. And then to make you work hard, we're then going to come down near the front for the woman that's hiding just behind the screen.
Thank you very much. Councillor Jim Robbins from Swindon Borough Council. Firstly, a massive thank you to the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister for a couple of mentions for Swindon in the spending review. It's very kind of you. But my question's about adult social care. Like a lot of people, I'm really worried about the cost of adult social care and making sure that we're really delivering for those people who need it. Will that funding formula change really help us some of the challenges that we've got in Swindon? So large number of people over 50 with learning disabilities. And I know that there's lots of places around the country with really high numbers of people, some of our coastal communities where they've got a lot of retirees. Is the funding formula going to help with that?
Thanks. Becca Everett from Erewash Borough Council. So I'm really excited for the fair funding review. I know it's going to mean a really good cash boost for deprived areas. So how do you think we as councils should be spending that money? And is it about freeing up more resources to spend on prevention?
I think I'll try and answer those two together in my aspiration of where I think we're going, and it's sort of as a theme through the speech. There's more than just one thing that's happening. So there's funding that's going in, there is longer term settlements, there is more freedoms, less burdens, because I trust you. I think we can be quite patronising in central government if we have to directly to say, hey, this is some money, we want you to achieve this outcome, and by the way, we're going to tell you how to do it. I mean, that's just pointless. You know how to deliver on your outcomes, and we should be supporting you in your endeavours and learning from you. That's my experience of local government. But we've also got to take the sum of its parts. Today we've announced a 10-year plan in health, which will have a major impact on local government as well, and it's important that local government are seen crucial to that in preventative support to people. Far too often our young people, our older people, the people who, if they'd have got support in the earliest of stages, we wouldn't have ended up in really damaging outcomes for them, but really costly outcomes for the state as well. And there's a fair pay agreements in social care, which we're hoping will sort out some of the challenges that we face with the social care workforce. Look, it's been hollowed out and fragmented. I know that. I'm personal experience of it. I remember the previous Labour government had delivering the workforce, minimum standards in care, and a career structure for people to be able to go into careers, they could be nurses, they could stay in social care, they could do whatever. But that interaction with primary care services and local government is so critical to bringing down some of the costs, as well as the record funding that we've got in that. And you can apply that to homelessness, you can apply that to SEND and children's services, and you can apply that to adult care and housing. All these pressures that local government have seen their budgets go up and up and up and up is because we have not done the hard yards of reform and supporting the services at the coal face in the preventative areas, and that's what this government is trying to do. The role of devolution, the role of reform, is that you can plan around your places for the uniqueness of what the challenges are that you face, so that you can collaborate, and finally, you know, the bureaucracy of the system says no. I've been in that system. Finally getting you in a position where you can bring the players locally round the table, you can pool resources, and you can really start to chip away at some of these challenges, because the prize at the end of it is healthier communities who feel empowered, and you feel like you, instead of managed decline, which is how it's felt for a long time, you feel like all the amazing hours of work that you put in for your community will count for something, because you will achieve something that you came into your local government to enact.
Well, I mean, that's the answer, right? Obviously.
Yes.
But my kind of job is to kind of do the technical work to give you the freedom to do that, because we can say it, and we have said it across government. But in the end, if the funding regime is so restrictive, you just can't move. If the terms and conditions that apply are so overbearing, you're scared of being told you're doing something wrong, well, it's not going to work. And so the financial reforms that we're doing on reorganisation basically is to be able to move a couple of £1 billion up and down the two-tier system so it can be targeted within a local area. The work that we're doing on redistribution through the fair funding review is to move money then around the country so it really follows deprivation wherever it does present, and that's important. But if we only did that and we didn't do grant consolidation, within your own council, you wouldn't be able to do the things and move money around your own system. And so all three of those strands are important. Taken together with the outcomes framework that the Deputy Prime Minister announced earlier on, that is a completely different way of accountability, trusting you to do what's right for your area, but also making sure then that all the bits of the machine that influence behaviour and drive behaviour reinforce that too. And I think as a package, honestly, because I've been in local government for over 20 years, like Angela, this is one of the most transformational, maybe technical, but transformational moves that we can make.
And also feeds in really well to a lot of the work that you've been doing across government around public services reform more broadly, and we see some of the signs of that with single settlements through devolution. How do you think that's going to play out over the next few months and years?
Well, my view is it's the only game in town. We've got two options here. We either carry on as we are, which is that we are paying more and more by the billions of pounds every year, but for worsening outcomes for people, whether that's young people who are living in temporary accommodation bed and breakfast accommodation. That's not okay. In my own town, that's 700 children across the country. That's 165,000 children. That is not okay. It's a national scandal, and there's got to be a better outcome than that too. But also the cost. Temporary accommodation costs are absolutely crippling local authorities, and that isn't sustainable too. Well, think about the same on SEND, homeschool transport, adult social care. All these different factors aren't just a huge cost pressure to councils. They are not the best way of delivering good outcomes for the people who we're in politics to serve. And so the transformation of public services alongside the other technical reforms are absolutely critical. Georgia Gould is in the front row here in the Cabinet Office. And I point her out, not because she's a local government champion like we all are, but because this is a whole government project. And I think that's really important. This is not just an MLCOG project because we believe in you. This is about getting the whole of government to change, to recognise if we want to pull a lever and affect change in the country, that you are all the delivery machine for that to happen.
Great, thank you. We've probably got time for one more round, just to see a bit of an indication as to how we get to spread across. So I'm going to go to the colleague right in front of me, just in the middle of the room. And then I'm going to come down to the front row in a moment, so please.
Thank you very much. My name is Osama Kawesa, and I'm a councillor in the London Borough of Merton, but also the Cabinet Member for Children's Services. And so you could probably guess where this question's going. One of the biggest challenges we're dealing with, which is not just unique to us, is, of course, tackling child poverty. And one of the challenges I found within that is how we define child poverty and that focus on household income, which I think avoids all the other issues around the experiences of the child. And so my question to you is, do you feel we need to expand that definition so that we can better identify the children who really need those interventions? Because there are other children who might be in households with low income, but have really good local authorities that provide that wraparound care. And I think that's something that we need to look at so we can really identify those children in extreme poverty that need those more in-depth interventions in order to lift them out of poverty. Thank you.
Probably time for one more.
Angela, thank you very much for coming today. Adam Zerny, Leader, Central Bedfordshire. I thought you spoke really eloquently, and I thought you meant what you said as well. I think one of the things that you focused on was housing and the tough target the government has set itself. So Central Bedfordshire has contributed in a big way to that. We've been consistently in one of the top 5 over the last 10 years or so. However, to our residents, it's the infrastructure that really matters. And it may not have reached you yet, but I wrote to you 3 weeks ago in conjunction with our local MPs, highlighting the fact that to the residents, it's the health, it's the schools, it's the roads, it's the environment that really matters. We would love to work really closely with the government. We're eager to work with you and to achieve the solutions that work for both of us. Would you meet with us to discuss further?
That was like an MP at PMQs. I say the minister, relevant minister will. So two really important questions there. On child poverty, I mean, this is absolutely right, because it's actually about family poverty as well. So rents are increasing, mortgages have gone up because of what happened with the economy under the previous government and the inflation rates, and we're still suffering from that. So people are seeing month on month their mortgages, as they come off a fixed rate, have gone up hundreds of pounds. That is plunging people who thought they were okay into poverty as well. The cost of childcare has gone up. So some of the measures that we're taking, whether that's the Renters' Rights Bill, whether it's the house building programme, whether it's the free school meals, whether it's the free breakfast clubs, a lot of the measures, including the Employment Rights Bill, is about alleviating some of the financial pressures on families as well. We've got the Child Poverty Task Force, which is going to report soon, which will give a clearer indication of all the other levers. I wish that there is one lever that you can pull and that will alleviate child poverty. When I was growing up, there was 3 children in our household, and we got a gyro and we got the child benefit, we were still, and we had a council house and it paid all our rent. We were still in poverty. And there was a number of factors we needed, including, as I speak a lot about, the Sure Start Centre that really helped me. We've got to start putting more money in people's pockets, giving them secure work, giving them opportunities and giving young people, children 0 to 5, the best start in life. And we've gone backwards on that over the last 14 years. So we've got a whole government approach to it, including in health and etc. So I do think you have to look at in the round, not just in a silo, because there's pockets of poverty. My mum was illiterate. I had no books in my house when I was growing up. That was a poverty for me that set me back, that can't be measured on an outcome, but that schools and the local authority had to face. So we have to be able to give you the skills to be able, and the support resources to tackle it where it is. And in terms of house building, you're absolutely right that infrastructure, look, I'm only going to get buy-in from the public if they see, because the public say to me, look, Hans, you get it, we need more houses, but look at our roads already. We haven't got the school places already. We can't get a GP appointment already. And these are genuine fears. I don't call them NIMBYs. I call that pragmatism. These are real problems that communities are facing because we haven't invested in our infrastructure. We are determined to do that. We're helping councils strengthen 106 notices, making sure that developers deliver when they said they were going to do that. You'll have heard all the infrastructure announcements that the government has made as a whole. We are targeting that to ensure that is delivered as we deliver new housing. We're working with local authorities to say in your local mandatory plans to drive where you want that housing and what infrastructure you need as part of that deal. But I will only win the hearts and minds of the public if they see development that looks after nature, which the Planning and Infrastructure Bill will do, and will give you the critical infrastructure that people need alongside that housing. I'm absolutely clear on that, and I'm determined to do it. I could release all of that and I could meet 1.5 like that, but it would be a failure to do that because it wouldn't deliver communities and homes that people desperately need. And that's what we're delivering, not just units, not an asset, but homes, infrastructure and communities that people want.
So I think that's nicely bringing us to the end of the session. It just leaves it to me. Obviously, as you know, we in the LGA are a cross-party membership organisation. We'll always make sure that we stand up for the sector and challenge where is appropriate, but we'll do that in a constructive way and one that ultimately delivers, I think, what you've heard today, what we all want to see, which is positive change for all of our communities. So if we can just thank our Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Local Government, Jim McMahon.